As well as rolling down the tunnel, I also wanted Sonic to return to the top. Obviously I couldn't rely on gravity to assist with this. I'd need something mechanical. My first thought was using a chain drive, as this could be set up to follow the curves of the tunnel. A smaller chain would require less space to work with, but with very limited connection points, and a larger chain would require more space, but with more versatile connections. I'd need something to pass through both connectors on the link so that it couldn't twist, which was also frictionless and could connect to the dish. I tried a few different methods, each with their own strengths and weaknesses, but I became concerned that physically attaching the Sonic ball to the chain was going to make things more difficult for me, as it'd need to move Sonic up and down the tunnel. I've seen great ball contraption builders using catch and release systems, in which a modified link in a chain would drag balls into position, then pull away, releasing them. So perhaps I could use a second track, passing a bar between two dishes, then connect something to the chain to catch the bar and release it at the top of the tunnel to roll back down. Better yet, I could sandwich the chain between the dishes and use a tread link to do the catching. I spent some time laying out a frame and gears to run the chain around before noticing the first issue. Only one side of the tread link will mesh with a gear. It was actually somebody in chat that gave me a potential solution here, so shout out to Greasy Fro for this one. He even suggested using springs to keep tension on the chain. I only had shock absorbers with pinholes available at the time, which I figured would swing out of position, so I built a test frame without. It was a little tight as the tread moved over the tyre, I guess as it pushes the chain away, but there was no sign of slipping. I thought I'd give it a go with a gear too, and sure enough, it did not like it. Finally I ran it without a tyre on the wheel, which was actually the smoothest running, but how would it cope with a longer chain and two consecutive wheels? So I had a system designed to bring the rolling Sonic back to the top of the tunnel, or at least I thought I had. After spending several hours building a physical test model, I discovered there was a fatal flaw in the design. The chain dragging Sonic crossed over the tunnel at the halfway point, preventing passage of the bar connecting the dishes together. In order to move the chain out of the way, I'd have to move the wheels to the other side of the tunnel, but then the wheels would be between the chain and the dishes. I tried adding some extra links to the chain to test whether it might allow the bar to pass between the chain and wheel, but the extra slack caused the tread link to slip under the dishes. The only other ideas I had at this point were using separate chains for each curve of the tunnel, which would need to be perfectly synchronized to pass Sonic along, or a much more ambitious idea to drop Sonic into a chamber below the tunnel and return him to the top via a second hidden tunnel. This option should have been possible with a single chain, but it was going to add a lot of extra bulk to the build. I was feeling kinda deflated about the whole thing at this point, until once again someone in chat came to the rescue, suggesting I use some form of cams to move Sonic. Thinking the idea through, I was concerned that rotating lift arms could potentially trap Sonic against the walls of the tunnel, and if I didn't time them correctly, they could collide with each other. Offsetting the lift arms so the ends pass next to each other was an easy solution to that problem, but trapping Sonic against the walls? So chains were out and lift arms were in. I'd need one per curve of the tunnel, passing Sonic between them at the halfway point, and they needed to be long enough to protrude at least halfway across the tunnel to remain in contact with the bar, so this kind of limited me to angled lift arms. I thought angling the arm into the rotation would give a better scooping action, but could potentially pinch the bar against the wall and cause a jam, so I chose to angle them away. Once I'd found a good placement for the arms, I needed to design a strong framework around them to support the tunnel, but I needed to be mindful that it wouldn't block the arms. It took a while, but the first test run looked good. As its framework was going to be vital to supporting the tunnel, I began piecing together the adjacent waterfall. I'd originally planned for a hidden area behind the water, designing an intricate lattice of clear 1x2 plates to hold together the tiles, but I later removed the idea due to a lack of light within the enclosed area. There's not much to say about building the rest of this, so I feel a bit of a montage is in order. As I put the second half of the tunnel in, I gave it another test run, and found that Sonic was halted by a pinch point created by the tunnel sagging under its own weight. I didn't know what I could do about this. Because I needed Sonic to travel freely under the tunnel, I couldn't install any framework to support the load. I'd need to tackle this in a different way.